Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, AI for Higher Ed Networks, Cut Costs, Boost Productivity, Stay Audit Ready. I'm Nikki House, a member of the professional learning team here at EDUCAUSE, and I'll be your host for today's event. EDUCAUSE is very pleased to welcome today's panelists. They'll introduce themselves in just a moment. But first, I'd like to give you a brief orientation to our meeting environment. And by the way, if you're chatting about this event on social media, please use the tag hashtag EDUCAUSE Webinar. We hope that you'll join us in making this session an interactive one. To do so, open the chat by clicking on that chat icon at the bottom of the presentation window. You can use that chat to make comments, share resources, and pose questions to our presenters. Be sure that you select everyone in that chat drop-down menu so that everyone can engage with your comments. We will have Q&A at the end of the presentation, but we highly encourage you to post your questions in the chat throughout the presentation. And if you have any technical difficulties, please send a private message to me by selecting hosts and panelists in that chat dropdown. The session recording and slides will be archived and made available later today on the EDUCAUSE website. And so thank you again for joining us today. And without further ado, we'll begin. Scott, over to you.
Nikki, thank you very much. My name is Scott Robon, and I'm the CEO of Solutional, a company that helps focus on operations issues and in networking and IT, and leveraging AI to help make operations better. With me today is Vishal Shukla. Vishal, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name is Vishal Shukla. I'm co-founder CEO at Avis Network, and we are essentially creating an end-to-end networking stack for the AI era. Be it the infrastructure which is getting refreshed because of the bandwidth requirements, or maybe using AI to effectively manage it in a very efficient way. So we create that end-to-end stack, and today we're going to be talking about specifically what we have seen in the the higher ed and the education vertical.
Excellent. So let's just lay it out right out front, Vishal. Like, we know there are significant issues, that pain points that the people on the webinar are seeing in terms of, how do I even start with AI? AI isn't even really my problem. I have budget constraints. I have all sorts of IT issues. What are you seeing as the biggest issues that Ava's customers have seen from the higher ed space?
Yes. So thank you, Scott. So essentially, since we've been talking to the the education vertical from past 2-3 years, and what I'm gonna say here is actually a synthesis of what we have heard from these customers. So one of the things which is basically a trigger point is to start with is that the use of bandwidth has increased to a point that you have the Gen AI generating a lot of content, and the discussion, the communication which used to happen in form of the textual manner, it is now happening in the videos format. It is happening a lot of different videos format, and that you can see in the usage of the online learning which is happening in the education, and a lot more content which is available in form of videos, and a lot more content which is available in terms of AI generated, be it PDFs, be it videos, or be it the deep dive conceptual things. So the bandwidth has increased, and it has nothing to do with AI. Of course, AI has helped in creating those content and everything. But what is triggering is that the bandwidth requirement has increased. Now, with that, the budget is actually the first thing to look for, right? I mean, the budget compliance is that, okay, this is the CapEx budget and this is the OpEx budget. How do you actually take care of this increased bandwidth, increased number of devices, increased mobility requirement, increased flexibility? How do you take care of that, and while being in the compliance of the budget? This is the number one thing which we are hearing from this vertical. And then comes the technical compliance, is essentially with the more sophisticated IT equipment coming in, there is technical compliances which are getting in, such as, is my network secure, right? Is all the configuration which I have put in there is as per the standards with which your education institute is governed by, right? And if some configuration is changing or some malicious traffic is coming in, am I network compliance with that or not, right? So this is the second level of pain point which we have heard. And the third one is essentially technology is changing with a light speed. New and better tooling and solutions are coming in, but the people who can actually implement it, in the IT network infrastructure, they kind of remain the same, right? So it's kind of the same team, the same skill set, and the budget pressure for hiring and everything, but the expectation to modernize is keep growing. So essentially, how do you use these tools to essentially do the right thing and do the thing which is more impactful? So these are the things which we are hearing from all these different verticals, and actually this is what we are hearing.
And I would, independently verify what you said, Vishal, especially on limited staff. I come across more and more customers in higher ed and in many other verticals that are trying to hire the right talent on their IT teams, and they just can't find folks. They have approved, authorized headcount, and they can't find it, at the right cost or within their geography. And so we need tools that can help us do more. I think it's safe to say that Vishal and I are both optimists when it comes to the new tooling that we're talking about for all these things that you're facing. What do I do about all this, Vishal? What are the what ifs with how I apply these toolings here?
Yes. So look, I mean, whenever you're looking to solve a problem, you have to just start looking at what are the low hanging fruits which I can take care to save time and to make the time within my team wherein I can create the bandwidth to consume these kind of tools. So some of the thing which we have identified, which takes a lot of time, which can be actually automated, and which are anyways routine and mundane and boring tasks, is can be taken care with the AI. So for an example, audit reports is what we have talked to and number of customers, and they all say that, look, I mean, we have to do a lot of audits, there are a lot of requirements, and it takes a lot of time to actually generate those hefty reports and everything. So and this is something which we're going to talk about this in in this webinar, how it can be done and everything. And then basically have a AI programmed or trained to essentially taking care of whatever is the repetitive task in your own context, and take care of that, right? And then you basically look at AI ops, which can help you to do troubleshooting and correlation, and essentially taking care of your operations. And then once you have these all things figured out, and then you can actually look for consuming the technologies which is putting you in a higher bandwidth, which is including more AI driven products, and you can actually evaluate those, and you can look for how you can include that in your system, which is essentially taking care of your ultimate goal, is that how do you refresh, being in budget compliance, and at the same point of time you have your technical compliances taken care, and your team is not overworked, stretched thin across multiple different competing priorities. So this is what we're going to talk about in this in this webinar.
Well, let's put that all in very concrete terms. Let's talk about some of the real issues you can address and the ways that you've done it, Vishal.
Yeah, so this is one of the question which pretty much is on everyone's head right now, is that uh, what can I do with AI? How do I start? Does it even apply to me, right? And what is the best way? Because pretty much every vendor in this world has an AI story today, right? And if I look from that point of view, it's essentially one more tool, right? Which means one more thing to manage, right? So really the question which you basically should be asking is that, how does it help me? That's where you should start with the AI, and how does it help me in a terms of everyday networking tasks. And if you really look at everyday networking tasks, of course, the firefighting for keeping your network up, firefighting to make sure that all the tickets are taken care, that's one thing, and of course that'll be there, and we can talk in a minute on how AI can help there. But the bigger one, which are burning a lot of time, is the compliance checks, right? On-demand audit reports, firewall rule validation, capacity forecasting. These are the things which are not firefighting, but at the same point of time consumes a lot of time, right? So essentially, you need to start thinking on those terms, is that AI and all these things are good, but how does it help me? And from the network engineering point of view, the right question to ask is that what is my daily task and where does it fit? Now, while you think about those kind of things, you have to also think that your data is very important, right? You have that you have the data, of course, from your universities and schools and everything, and then you have the the student data and everything. So whatever AI you think of has to be private, to the point that it may not even have internet access for that matter, right? So that the data leakage problem is kind of taken care. So private AI is very important. And this is, by the way, also think about it. A network architect who is working for, a university ABC, and whatever the processes and compliances which you follow in university ABC may not be same as the processes and the compliances which you follow in XYZ, right? And this skill set is different. Of course, the basic networking protocol knowledge is same, but then how do you put it in the perspective of managing your network? That human intelligence is different, and that's why you ramp up when you join to a new employer and everything, right? So AI has to behave in similar way. It has to be understanding the private context for that, right? The second thing, it has to be multi-vendor. I mean, I'm sure you don't have all your networking equipment for the same vendor, right? You may have firewall from where, load balancer from somewhere, and then switches somewhere, Wi-Fi somewhere, right? So and you as a network engineer, you have to pretty much deal with everything, right? So whatever AI you think should be able to deal with everything, right? And then there has to be the no AI tax for faster ROI. Okay, I'm gonna give you the ROI right now, but it's gonna cost you millions of dollars. I mean, that of course that's insane, since essentially the models are commoditized right now. What is more important is data, and the clean data with which you can actually train these things. And whatever you do, you have to make sure that it is future proof, because as you might be reading the news coming from all different places, is that the LLMs are changing at a very light speed, right? Every couple of months, this basically price and performance ratios are getting better, which means that whatever system you put should be able to leverage that goodness which is coming from these LLMs, right? And thinking about that, and especially for the the education vertical, one of the other more important thing is that the using of AI should be no code or low code. What it means is that you should still be able to contextualize the AI in your own environment, but it should come with least amount of coding or making agents and everything. And that's where we have certain examples what we do in Avis. But thinking about AI, these are the must thinking things with which you should actually have some answers before you start on the AI journey.
So let's insert here and just turn it back to the audience a little bit. Nikki, we'd love you to pull up the poll questions right now. And we really want to get your collective pulse on things that you're seeing in your environment. So we have 3 questions that we'd like you to answer. Don't worry, we won't play the Jeopardy clock on you and speed it up. We'll give you time to answer each one. But the first question is, number 1, what is the biggest challenge you're facing regarding compliance requirements? And that doesn't have to be an AI question. Like, you tell us what are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing strictly from a federal and other compliance perspective. Then the second item would be, are you using generative AI to help manage your networks in any way, shape, or form? And you'll see the answers range from, I'm all on top of this, to I'm not even started yet, right? Tell us what you're doing on that front. And then third, do your students or staff report network problems causing difficulty in completing assignments or work-related tasks? That is network performance getting in the way of your students getting their work done and your faculty and staff actually being able to use the network? Tell us what you think about each one of those. And while we give you some time to answer those questions, don't forget you can also put questions in the webinar chat, and we'll do our best to address those questions as we go through today's webinar. But Nikki, you tell us how we're doing in terms of response rate.
Let's give it about 30 more seconds. We're at 50%, which is really good.
We can do better than 50%. We have highly motivated individuals on this call. We're not going to settle for 50%. Hang on. Yeah, we'll do a quick check on the answers before we move on to the next slide. And Vishal he's going to use this information as he goes through some additional pieces of the discussion.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. For question number one, biggest challenges you're facing regarding compliance, 100% answered. Thank you so much. Your biggest issue is all of the above: lack of budget, increasing requirements, and limited staff. 5% of you said something else. And if anybody wants to volunteer answers in the webinar chat as we go, it'd be really interesting to hear what other challenges you're having from your compliance issues. For question number two, so far, are you using Gen AI in any way to help manage your networks? We've got one of you on the bleeding edge saying yes extensively, and that's awesome. You've got a couple others saying yes moderately. So there are a few more of you, about 15 so far, that are just getting started. And then not at all is more than half of you. So Vishal, we're going to have fun with item number two, no question.
Okay.
Yeah. And then question number three, do your students or staff report network problems that are getting in the way of doing their assignments and staff actually getting their work done? We've got one extensively. That's the unfortunate bleeding edge here. Let's figure out how we can help this individual. Almost 20% more. This is a moderate problem. 66% of you are in it sometimes, and then 15% of you are not at all. And that's great. So very good. Well, let me go ahead and share the results. You're already doing that, correct, Nikki? I see you sharing the results.
I can
Yes.
see it.
Excellent. So very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. And these are not the only questions you'll be able to ask. So yes, let's go to the next slide. So Vishal, talk us through what we're seeing here regarding automated compliance.
Also, look, I mean, what generative AI is good at is to basically generate a lot of data by learning the templates and understanding what user is asking and everything, right? So think of doing the compliances today, and compliances are in multiple shapes and form, right? I mean, one is from the CIS or NIST kind of a thing, which talks about what kind of a configuration you have and all these kind of things, and they have certain template on which you have to report and everything. Then there is a internal compliances at times, which you have in terms of what are your configurations for particularly all the devices, different devices which you have. The username, passwords, and everything are taken care properly, and how much is the diff exist between your view of your network and versus what is running in your network. That's just another kind of a compliance. Then you have compliance at times is that you have upgraded the network. Is it behaving the same way which it is supposed to behave, right? So, okay, I upgrade my network, but then what? Then there is another compliance sometimes is that is my network infrastructure is actually is up to date from all the vulnerabilities, CVEs, which a vendor has published in a way that, look, I mean, in the current software, these are the vulnerabilities and you should upgrade your networks, right? So these are certain different kind of compliances, which is the job of the network architecture and the network engineers to take care of it. Now, how it works manually today is that you probably will write a script for different kind of sets of your network, which will probably scrape the data from different places, maybe put it in some sort of a XLS, and then you will make another automation which will put in a side-by-side XLS. And if you are a little bit ahead in the coding and everything, you may write a macro to do the diff and everything, and then you will basically have a old template where you will start copy pasting in the evidence and appendix, right? Now, this is a classical example of where you can use AI to actually do the data scraping for you, right? Essentially, pretty much every vendor in the world supports REST API, SNMP, or nowadays MCP server. So data connector is, the connecting of data is a thing of a past, right? I mean, with now the standards are coming in, so you can actually tap into device in a rather standard way and basically get the data what you are looking for. And then, you have hundreds of devices, thousands of devices, does not matter. Those data come in and you throw it towards the LLM. I'm sure all of you would have looked on how ChatGPT works. LLMs actually excel if you throw a lot of data at them. So, you just throw the data in them, and then you basically tell them that, hey, look, here is the standard which I'm looking for NIST. This is what it is looking for. In every device, I should have this should be enabled and that should be disabled. And you basically give it. And then in the end, it basically start creating a PDF report, which basically start, comparing what you scraped from the system and what you think it should be, right? And it will basically generate a PDF report of that. And of course, I mean, in some cases, you may have to tweak that report and everything, but this whole operation, takes maybe 30 seconds, per device on average. And, you can batch it up for the overnight run so that, it can take different pieces of the network. So this is a very classic example on how you can basically, with a no code or low code, train the AI that what is your definition of compliance, and basically then enable it to take the data from directly from the devices or from your source of truth configuration, compare it together, and then generate a report which is ready for you to basically, and this essentially saves a lot of time. And the answer number one, which you guys have given a majority of it, that, all of the above, is essentially, this is where is a telltale example wherein you can start with the AI today with a very measurable return of investment, and on a thing which, on my experience talking to a lot of the education network experts, is they don't like making XLS and going for line after line and comparing things. So this is what it is showing up in this. And as you can see here, towards the end of this video, it'll basically download a PDF report, and it will tell you that what is compliant and versus not compliant.
You could probably even get it to download as another Excel spreadsheet if you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, this is where LLM excels, right? You can download
Yeah.
PDF, doc, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and let me pile on that. Like, this is a superpower of LLMs, right? Data reduction, finding patterns, and producing summarized information. If for the many of you who have said you haven't really started doing anything in your network management with LLMs at this point, this is a great place to start. It is non-invasive. It's not pushing any config to your network. It's not changing network behavior. It's just gathering data and summarizing it. And so let me encourage you all. This is something you can try, and we'll have more information before we wrap today on how you can actually access Avi's tools to give this a shot. Now, Vishal, we also talked about the network problems getting in the way of people getting their work done, students getting their work done. How can you help with that?
Well, so, I mean, one of the thing which when the network goes down, the first thing first, you have to see that, is it a control plane problem? And that is probably, the network operations and everything you can do. But oftentimes when the bandwidths start to get hit, it's because of some applications which are running in the network, which are hogging your network, right? And which is not supposed to hog your network, right? And this is where, network visibility, network observability comes into picture. Now, these tools are, legacy tools, has always been there, which basically tells you that what's happening in your network on the packet level, how many flows are going and everything. And this becomes more important because, especially for the education sector, you have, different campuses, and then you have, different kind of zoning of the networks, different segmentation. And then in certain places, the bandwidth will be higher. In certain places, bandwidth will be lower. And of course, you will have some policies in place on what kind of application and everything can go on. So what is happening in the era of where the bandwidth is getting increased is actually these tooling also getting disrupted in a sense. And first of all, how do you take this data in a way that the budget is not spiking, and you are basically relying on the software first kind of architecture. So that's why the hardware budget does not spike. And the second one, how do you actually use AI to correlate and say that, look, I mean, compared to my design of the network, that this one should have been the flow versus this is what is going on. And you can actually match and map and get the issue in terms of the flow analytics. So observability is the piece which will basically give you the insight of your network. But once you get that data, Then after that, you can put AI on top of it to do the flow analytics and everything. So in terms of a stack, if you talk about taking the data, normalizing the data, putting it in front of AI, this is becoming like a one solution end to end, right? Because triggered by a lot of bandwidth requirement and a lot of AI based tool available. So this is something which basically has been disrupted in the market, and this new innovation has happened wherein AI first observability, which is designed to have this island kind of information coming from 10 different places, then correlate that and give you a reasoning. So this is very important nowadays, especially so many applications are running in the networks, and of course some of them are driven by AI. So having the visibility deep into that and using AI to troubleshoot, that's the next way of doing things.
And also to emphasize, this is another piece of your network management puzzle that is also not invasive, that you can just use to gather information about the network and summarize it. This also sets you up in the best way possible, using information and real-time observability info to actually drive other automations in your network. So again, very safe step, a very powerful step, but also helps you build infrastructure where you can do more automatically with the network. Now, we've seen some incredible advances in this area of open protocols for gathering observability information, but there's a much broader open software and open networking story here that you can tell, Vishal. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you, Scott. So, we started our this webinar talking about AI and compliance and everything, and I hope that basically all the details there, is a top-down approach. How do you start on this journey, right? And observability is actually again a data play. But if you really see fundamentally, looking at bottoms up, which is kind of a foundation of your network. That's where the network connectivity comes in, right? I mean, basically the switches and the routers and these kind of things, right? And this actually takes a lot of your, the TCO as well as the investment which you do, and the automation and the standardization of the tooling, and also the skill set learning for your networks, right? So basically the trend which is happening from past 10 years, I mean, of course, it started with Microsoft back in 2012 and 13, is something standardizing with open networking with SONiC. This essentially defines that you can actually open your network in a sense wherein you control the network operating system, which opens up your network for choosing the switches from different vendors, right? It could be Cisco, it could be Arista, it could be Juniper, it could be white box vendor, NVIDIA, and those hardware you can choose while you standardize the network operating system layer. And on top of that, you can standardize your automation, your tooling. Not only that, but also the skill set of your administrators, the skill set of your engineers. And that, and here Gartner says that, it's basically reduces the MTTR and essentially saves cost. So that's the concept of open networking, opening up your network and standardizing for your AI, for your tooling, and also future-proofing the architecture. Because in future, if let's say the bandwidth increment happens from 10 gigabit speed to 25 to 100, you will just change the hardware. You will not, care about changing the automation layer or the standardization layer and everything. And this is where, this ecosystem of SONiC comes in. And definitely, I mean, if you guys are interested in the operating system layer, changing the foundation in a very pragmatic manner, this is something we excel in as a company. And essentially, the savings are enormous, 60-70% of the TCO saving, which you will get right off the bat if you start on this journey.
I don't think we can overemphasize how incredible this is in the network performance realm. And I would start the clock ticking all the way back into the 90s, where open source software got so much momentum, and that has just bled over into open networking and what's going on with SONiC. Let's be really clear. Open source network operating system software, you don't pay for that. And that unlocks the ability, just like Vishal said, to buy hardware from manufacturers that can produce switches that still give you the same functionality, the same speeds and feeds. And Abbas is just doing a great job of bringing the two together. The integration of what Sonic can do from a software perspective and what's happening with different white box switch manufacturers.
Yeah, and just to put it in a simpler words. I mean, think about when we had uh, Sun Microsystems and IBM mainframes, and that whole vertically integrated systems got disrupted by Linux, right? And what Linux slowly become mainstream, and what it given birth to the standardized application, right? And this whole AI wave today is actually sitting on the the data which is coming from these applications and everything, right? So the tooling becomes standardized, the efficiencies become 100x for the teams and everything, all because of the operating system layer got standardized to Linux, right? Now something similar is happening in networking right now, and that is the equivalent of that is Sonic, and that is what is driving the innovation for this observability tooling which I mentioned here, and as well as this AI based thing, because standard, the foundation is faster and better. You can do the job and basically get the data, and the AI can run better future proof. So this concept is Linux and Sonic. That's a takeaway, and then you can just imagine how Linux changed it. That's what is happening in networking right now.
Yeah, and the fact that it's not new in the IT realm, we're just applying it in networking in ways that have already been done in broader IT, right?
That's
Um, Before we go to the next slide, let me just remind everyone who's with us, please don't hesitate to ask questions. We're happy to address any more specific questions that you have. You've got some time to think before we get to the end here. I hope we have plenty of time to talk more with you. But we have some specifics to share with you on how you can get started with on Avis Networks specifically. So, Vishal, why don't you talk us through that?
Yeah, so I mean, we basically is, like I mentioned, is a end-to-end software stack company, which is built on the principle of open networking and leveraging open source as much as we could, while keeping the experience, privacy, and security of those systems intact, as you would get from your enterprise current vendors, and doing it in a way that all these different vendors you are working with right now, this stack works with it, right? It's not a rip and replace. It's not like that it will not integrate with that, or it will not interop with that. And that's why if you go to our website, you'll see all of these are our partners and everything. So so basically, how quickly can we implement Avis AI? We basically get these kind of questions, and for us, it's the way it works is something called agentic AI. We have these agents built in for doing the specific work, right? And this is something which we have showed the video today. The way it works is that you give us a call, we set up a POC for you. We have a big AI lab in Fremont. And essentially, we take your requirement, we essentially replicate it in terms of whatever kind of vendors you have. You may have switches from Cisco, Arista, Juniper. You may have firewalls from Fortinet F5. You may have SD-WANs coming from Versa, Viptela, or some other vendor. You may use ServiceNow, or you may have Zendesk, right? You may use a Splunk, right? So all of these entities is what we have running in our the customer demo center. And once you tell us that, hey, look, I have these 5, 6 different elements, and this is what I use. Can you show me how exactly it will test my upgrade? How exactly it will basically do the compliance audit report? And you see that in action. And after that, whatever tweak is required, we do that. And after that, that's how it becomes very customized private AI, which understands your context. And like I said previous in the slide, private AI is a way to go. There is no one intelligence which is cut out for every different company or every different university. Intelligence is contextual. So that's how the AI is contextual, and that's how we take it, right? That's the first one we get. And then basically it says, will it work with existing hardware? Of course, like I mentioned, right? I mean, like you as a human intelligent network administrator and network engineers, AI should not be different. It should not be that, okay, yeah, I'm a AI, but I can actually work with only one vendor. Well, that's not AI. That's actually some sort of a restricted algorithm. I would say it's not AI, right? So AI, of course, has to work with everything which you got, and that's where it goes back to my first question. You give us the list, we make it work, and then we go from there. What kind of ROI can we expect? So look, I mean, we give the whole end-to-end stack. If you are basically looking at ROI, from the AI point of view, typically our value model says that it'll somewhere be between 350 to 450%. And when we look at ROI, we look at the time saved, right? For doing the better things which you can do. And we also look at the future proofness of the thing. And we also look at that if you were to, buy 10 different AI per different vendor, versus you have just one AI which is integrating with all your different vendors. All those things comes into picture, which we believe that within a quarter time, you should actually start, it'll pay itself back, is what we look for. Then we also get this question of security. Well, so to start with, just one line answer, it does not need internet access, right? So all your data stays there. Now, in terms of the CVE compliances and, uh, the certification from the FIPS and all these kind of things, we provide the data, and we just look at the customer requirement. If something is something which we don't qualify for, we do it. Otherwise, it's just a FIPS is a pretty standard. So the way we work with, and irrespective of AI, irrespective of observability, irrespective of Sonic, we interact with the customer, prove out their all solutions in our lab, and then after that we go from there. So this is how we start. With the folks who are looking for this cutting edge stuff and have question, how do I start?
Do you have any like favorite examples that you've seen of people who've come in and set up POCs with you and just had a real aha moment? Like, they didn't understand the power of what they were getting before they came in, and you saw them walk away with a whole new perspective?
Yes. So look, I mean, I'll give you one example of using this network copilot as a L1 support agent, right? So basically, I mean, this was a cloud service provider. They had this customers coming in and asking questions, and that hits their L1. And really, the job of L1 was to ask more questions and give them the answers without without exposing some of the private documents based on which they give the reply, right? And those documents are sometimes like, the policy settings on what they use in their firewalls. Sometimes it is about do not execute list, that if you do that, network will crash or something like that. So they basically, L1 engineer job was to answer these questions while just giving the answer without exposing the information. And then L2 engineer job was to triage and everything. So we basically had a discussion with this customer, and one side, this LLM actually learns from the information which this customers has fed as a document, right? In a FAQ format, that if this comes, you do this comes, you do that. And basically what we did is we took like around their last 100 200 cases, and we took that as an example, and we created the forward looking bot for the L1 cases, which is highly contextualized for the information for this particular customer. And this is where the private AI comes in. The same AI, if I put it somewhere else, not gonna answer those jargons which this customer had, right? So this is this, and by the way, this is one AI which is helping the level one, but then now this customer is putting another agent on the same AI to basically do the configuration check. And their configuration check is pretty simple because they have this diverse network operating networking team in different regions of the world, and they have their own automation. And this AI job is to make sure that the compliance is checked very frequently. And if there is any diff comes in, it is triggered as an email and a recommendation on what needs to be done. So this is something comes in my mind, which is highly kind of relates to the audience here. Of course, we have more Fortune 50 kind of companies who are working with us, and those goes into a little bit more details into the ASIC level and the coding level and everything. Happy to share that, but I think that for that we'll need another webinar for sure.
For sure. Look, I think we're in a very exciting times here. And like we're seeing this become reality. Like Vishal, you engage with customers all the time that are making this transition. And of course, you do have the large enterprise customers that want to go into all the bits and bytes of the hardware abstraction layer and the switch abstraction interface, et cetera, et cetera. But I wouldn't want anybody in a small organization or large organization to feel like they're really behind on this. We're all just getting started. And so many organizations, large, small, in between, are taking steps that we talked about today, starting with gathering observability information, getting reports from your network devices to look at compliance issues, to lay the foundation for doing more end-to-end automation. Like there's so much that can be explored here. All you have to do is start. And so we'll end with this QR code. What will we see if folks on the webinar today scan that, Vishal?
Look, I mean, there are two ways. I mean, it will of course go to our website, but then, we basically would love to talk to you for 15, 30 minutes. That's number one. Number two is that we do this something called hackathon, wherein we invite the customers to tell us just tell us what is your biggest pain point, right? And then we basically create the solution for that without any commitment or whatsoever, because we believe that one customer pain point is not just going to be one. The word is huge, right? So our benefit there is to basically make sure that we take that and make the AI based solution for that, and then we basically ask you to come and see that if it is something which is happening, it's just answering the way you're supposed to get that. So this kind of an event which we do once in every 6 months. The next one is happening in September. So talk to us, take part in this. It's a no code, low code kind of event. So that's one thing. And of course, event aside, you want to see the proof of concept of this compliance and everything, talk to us. So this is something we can talk. And if you want to go further towards open networking, towards observability, those definitely would be on the table. Depends upon what are your needs and where you are in your high priority of the journey of networking.
Very good. Well, anything else big that we need to get on the table, Vishal? Anything like that you're eager to make sure that people hear about that we haven't covered already?
Yeah, so look, I mean, I'll just kind of close off with this thing is that the real value of Avis Network, what we provide, is to bring that expertise which hyperscalers have, right? In a sense that they have this massive engineering talent within their organizations, and they are always ahead in the curve in using the technology, and with which of course they develop new technology, right? So the vision of Avis Network is to have that kind of a massive engineering talent and create those kind of experience which of course these hyperscalers create, and bring them to the enterprises, right? So if you really see this compliance and AI, NetOps and correlation and everything what we are talking about, most probably in Google and in Microsoft and Facebook, these guys are doing it today, right? And with all, great engineers, of course, right? But then it takes, years for those kind of advancement to come to the enterprises, and even if it comes as a very massive price and everything, right? But the world which we are living in, this technology is getting generated at a very high speed. The problem is that it is not getting consumed at that high speed, right? And that's what we are here to fill up this gap in a way that it is private to you, it is pragmatic, right? It is programmable to your context, and then it is price conscious, right? It is essentially price conscious in a way. So this four piece is what I always talk about: private to you, and this is pragmatic to your needs, programmable to your context, and actually price sensitive to your own budgets, right? But we want to enable you with all that advancement, and that's the motto of Avis Networks.
Very good. Well, please take advantage. Come take a look at Avis Networks. Use the QR code. You see the link in the chat as well. Also, Nikki has posted the survey for this session. Please go ahead, fill that out. That feedback is invaluable to us representing Avis, but also to Nikki and how she manages all this. Nikki, do you have any final words for the audience?
If you haven't, does anyone have any questions? Please feel free to post those in the chat and we will get those answered.
I think we got some good ones. I think everybody's thinking about lunch or whatever's next in their day.
That might be so. That might be so. So we can give you a few moments back to your day. On behalf of EDUCAUSE, I want to thank the audience for joining us today. Thank you, Scott and Vishal, for a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Alona, for running those slides in the background. We have not forgotten about you. So before you sign off today, please make sure that you click on that session evaluation link in the chat window. As Scott mentioned earlier, your comments are very important to us. We will post the archives and resource recordings at the end of the presentation today, later on that archive site. So thank you again for joining us. And on behalf of EDUCAUSE, have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nikki.